morning. I'm Pinky Webb. Tonight we ask the questions, we tackle the issues, we clarify matters, and we get on point. Congress's decision to slash the Education Department's budget by $12 billion has elicited criticism from different sectors. $10 billion of this was supposed to be for the agency's computerization program, and they say the cut would further widen the digital divide. Senator Grace Poe, however, defended the move, noting that only 50% of last year's computerization budget was used, and they decided to focus more on human resources next year. Today, the president vowed to find ways to restore the DepEd's budget. Let's get on point with House Basic Education and Culture Committee Chairman Romulo. Congressman Roman, nice to see you again.
Yes.
Welcome to On Point.
Yes. Thank you, Pinky, for being here. First time that I'll be in your show.
Thank you. Yeah, we've always been talking about education,
Right.
of course, the passion, your passion over at Congress. Being the chairman, of course, of the Committee on Basic Education. But first, your quick reaction on this, 12 billion slashed. But 10 billion supposed to be for computers and gadgets for students
Yes.
of public schools. And then there was supposed to be a 2 billion. Do you know where the 2 billion was supposed to
My
be?
understanding from the statement of Secretary Sunny is that will be used for additional personnel. That's my understanding.
Okay.
But again, in discussing this issue, I think we have to do away first with some of the basic discussions so that we don't go to that extent. First, the Constitution provides that the education should get the highest budgetary allocation. I think, and I support, and I agree that that's a constitutional mandate. We should always comply with that. How does one comply with that? It is putting together the budget of DepEd, TESDA, CHED, DOST, and of course other budgets that are used.
DOST also?
Because DOST is the one in charge of Philippine Science High School, so that is also education. So again, if it is related to education, I think that that should be bundled together.
Okay.
So having said that, I think that should not be an issue because every year, I think the BICAM and Congress always make sure because that is a constitutional mandate that the highest budgetary allocation should go to the education sector. I just wanted to clarify that, Pinky, because someone asked me, with the cutting of the budget of this 12 billion, does that not violate the constitutional...
And I was going to ask you that.
Okay, mandate. But again, we have to put together all the different...
It's not just DepEd.
It's not that.
Okay.
It's not just DepEd.
We put that on the screen, Congressman. Okay. It's Article 14, if I'm not mistaken, Section 5. Article 5, Section 5 of the Constitution, which says that the state shall assign the highest, there it is, the state shall assign the highest budgetary priority to education. That's why people were asking, is this illegal? Why? Because the DepEd is getting about 737, if I'm not mistaken, billion, rather. Wala na pa, 737. And then the DPWH had we discovered recently is getting more than 1 trillion pesos. So now the question was, mas tumaas ba si DPWH sa DepEd? So it's good you're clarifying that.
Yes. Again, Pinky, we have to do some pencil pushing there. I have not added actually all the different education sectors, but that I am almost certain. I think every member knows that constitutional mandate, and that has always been followed, and that was never an issue brought about, mentioned by the Department of Education.
Yeah,
so
and
I think
it should be complied with.
That should be, it's mandatory, and we all
Otherwise,
agree.
it can be questioned before the Supreme
That's
Court,
unconstitutional.
Right? Yeah, so that's something we have to add. The DepEd budget, the CHED budget, DOST, and
TESDA, and any budget, I think, if there's a school building program, I think that should also be included because that's part of education also.
Then that will actually comply with Article 14.
Again, yes, someone has to do the pencil pushing, just add the numbers.
All right, but 10 billion was slashed. So also,
Yes.
it's good that you're bringing this up because while the DepEd budget was slashed by 12 billion pesos for the computerization and possibly the personnel, Senator Grace Poe was actually saying that there's been an increase in the budget of the DepEd from 737 billion in 2025 next year compared to 717 billion this year. In other words, there's a 20 billion increase. So she also wanted to make that clear na hindi bumaba ang budget ng DepEd this year, next year compared to this year. In fact, umakyat pa siya ng 20 billion. However, there was a 12 billion still na tinanggal.
Yes.
So, kung hindi tinanggal yon, siguro, you know, it's 737 plus
No, we
another
just have to
12
add,
billion, right?
yeah.
Which is about 748 or 749 billion. Is that, what is your reaction to that?
Well, first of all, I think we should take a look at the statement of Sexani. I think he was very clear that the cut of 12 billion, 10 billion going to the computer program of DepEd, he was very clear. And you are very clear in your introduction that it will widen the digital divide. I think, of course, obviously, if you're asking for 10 billion and that's not given to you, then obviously you don't have the 10 billion. So from your point of view, that will widen the digital divide. And I think no one can question that. But let me just, for the record, I think what we are all after when we talk about education is quality of education. And when you talk about quality of education, there are many challenges that must be overcome. One of them is technology. And I think if anyone in the position of Sexani would want a full arsenal, I mean, there are many challenges in the education department to reach quality of education, one of them being technology. So, of course, he would want to have that in his arsenal to be able to lessen that gap of that what he calls the divide, the digital divide. But again, going to quality of education, there are many challenges. One thing there, and we've spoken about this previously, is really focusing on functional literacy. I think until now, the Department of Education must, I think, be more aggressive in ensuring that we focus on the functional literacy, meaning reading comprehension, mathematics, and science. That means reducing the number of subjects. We've discussed it previously, Pinky. When we had the K-12, they introduced about 15,000 plus competencies. When Secretary Briones came in,
15,000
plus competencies. When Secretary Briones came in and reviewed that, she reduced that and she came up with what she called the most essential learning competencies, the MELC. And that was a little over 5,000 competencies. But even at that time, I was saying that what is important is not only the competencies, but really to reduce the number of subjects. Because at that point, grade 1, you had 6, 7 subjects, then 8, then 9 subjects by grade 3. When you compare our education system, especially Key Stage 1, which is that, K to 3, to another jurisdiction, they have less subjects because they focus on functional literacy. And that is one challenge that I think DepEd should do. They should focus on is not only pilot it in certain schools, but I think it should be done. We have many DepEd schools. It should not be to 1% of that, but it should be more than that. That's one example. The second one, just to show that there are many challenges, it's with respect to the admin work being given to teachers. That is why, if you recall, EdCom 2 came up with a recommendation that certain admin work must be removed.
Taken away from the teachers.
Yes, from the teachers so that they can focus on classroom teaching. Again, those are two examples of challenge. And of course, technology is a challenge because first, there are places that we have no Wi-Fi, or even in Metro Manila itself. Yeah, that's true. Even in Metro Manila itself, there are blind spots. So Wi-Fi is really a problem. And again, the hardware, the technology. And I think that is the digital divide that DepEd wanted to bridge.
But those three would have come and complemented each other if they were available, for example, to the DepEd. For example, the digitalization, the focusing on the core subjects, and lessening or reducing the admin work for teachers. Kung nagsama-sama po siguro yung tatlong yon, then you'll have a more progressive
then as I said, there are many challenges. If you're able to address every challenge at the same time, that's perfect. But again, that's also such a big task, because another big challenge is We have a shortage of 160,000 classrooms. We also have many classrooms subject to repair because of the recent typhoons and wear and tear. So you can imagine also the amount of funds needed to catch up with 160,000. And to
The
be honest with you,
160,000 are the classrooms that need to be built. This is just not to be repaired.
To be built,
Okay.
not yet to be repaired. And again, many of our schools in urban centers actually are not in the single shift.
Yeah.
Meaning you have a double shift or triple shift.
Yeah.
But of course, the ideal is single shift. That's it. But we do a double shift or triple shift because we make do with whatever classrooms
We don't have enough
Again,
classrooms.
that's another challenge.
Okay, there's a lot of challenges, of course,
Correct.
facing the education department, sector, and I guess because of this is one of the problems that the Secretary, Sani Angara, was going to face because he was looking forward to, bridging, as
That's
they say,
correct.
the digital divide. We're going to have more of this discussion, especially the focusing on core subjects. We'll have that discussion with Congressman Romulo after the break. Please stay tuned. This is On Point. Welcome back. You're watching On Point. Still with us, Congressman Romulo. I guess the question really is, with that 10 billion cut right now, although the President said he's looking at restoring it, let's just say tuloy po yung cut. What is the implication of that on computers and gadgets for students? Does that mean zero?
No, based on the statement that I read from the Department of Education, from the Secretary, is that the 10 billion would equate to about 1.4 million learners getting gadgets. Now, picking up from what Senator Grace Poe earlier said, the question really is, how was the budget utilized for the computerization program in 2023 and 2024?
Oh, yeah,
Right
the
now.
last 2 years.
Yes, the last 2 years. My understanding actually is that currently, again, Secretary Sani has done a great job because he was able to obligate a certain portion of the budget this year, this December. But again, obligating does not mean utilization yet. Obligating means that you've got a winning bidder, but at the end of the day, that winning bidder must still comply with certain conditions. So again, utilization is not yet there. So that, I think, is one thing that we should help the Department of Education find out and see what happened.
Okay.
If there is still existing budget for 2024, and I guess for 2023,
That should be obligated. That's what
that
you're
should
saying.
be utilized, not only obligated.
Obligated, and then eventually, ang kailangan naman ma-obligate eh.
Ma-utilize. Because if utilize means that you're able to purchase.
No, I understand,
Yes.
but the purchasing kind of takes a while. I mean, hindi ho ba pag may pera, kailangan mo-obligate mo yan para hindi mo ibalik sa National Treasury
But if
before the
you
year end?
obligate it and then at the end it is not, the certain conditions are not
Let's
met,
say
then it
the supplier doesn't meet the criteria.
That's correct.
That's going to be the problem.
That's correct.
That's
So-
why you were saying thankfully, the Secretary was able to obligate some of the money for 2024.
Yes,
Here's my
this
question.
December.
Yeah.
I
What
understand,
happens
just this
in
December.
2023 if there were money that was not spent? Because COA, there was a COA finding saying that last year, supposedly, Congressman, the DepEd used only half of the allocation for the computerization program. My understanding, that's 2023. That's what I'm presupposing. So, magagamit pa ho ba yun? O binalik na yun sa National Treasury?
My understanding is, but again, there would be better experts than me, but my understanding is, as long as you obligate it before the year end or the second year, then you can retain that. So the 2024, I think I'm almost certain that can still be obligated until next year. So again, the question really is, let us help DepEd be able to obligate and utilize the budget given to them for computerization. Again, Pinky, at the end of the day, if the 10 billion is restored, I think we all must put our heads together and help the Department of Education because technology is good. It will help the students. But the question is, we keep on focusing on this, but when you look at 2023 and 2024, it was not fully utilized. So again,
Gamitin na yun.
we should
Utilize
use that.
it,
We should use
obligate
that,
it.
obligate and utilize that.
Yeah, so that's when I wanted to go to what Congressman Gutierrez was saying. Here's what he said: because of the poor track record supposedly during the previous administration, during the time of the Vice President as head of the Education Department, Congressman Gutierrez explained that the 10 billion reduction was primarily due to the very low utilization of DepEd's funds for procurement of information and communication technology equipment, ICT equipment. So, parang sinasabi, sa pagkaintindi ko, sir, na hindi namin, tinanggalan namin kasi ang low ang hina nung utilization.
That is correct.
During the time of VP Sara or Secretary Sara that time.
And I think that the basis for that is the core report.
Right.
That it was, and that is why I'm saying that, again, to give credit to Secretary Sonny, he was able to obligate a portion of the 2024, but I understand it was just merely obligated.
Okay.
So again, we have to get all the facts together.
Yeah.
We have to take a look and then find out if the additional 10 billion to be restored by the President should be also used again, hopefully obligated and utilized.
But my understanding is that if the DepEd needed 10 billion for 2025 for computers, that means that is over and above what was allotted during the year of 2024 and the year 2023. Parang ngayon kasi sinasabi, hindi nyo kasi ginamit yung 2023 at 2024, o kaya hindi namin kayo bibigyan ng 2025. But when that NEP was done or being crafted, there was really there was a 10 billion supposed to be for computers, whether, you know, over and beyond, ibig ko sabihin, the 2024 and 2023 budget. Isn't that so?
Again, that's non sequitur. It doesn't follow that that is the reasoning behind it. But again, if 10 billion is about 1.4 million learners, we have about 25 million learners, approximately around that, for our DepEd schools. Then again, that would still be below. I mean, maliit pa rin yun, di ba, compared to the universe of DepEd students that we have.
One thing, though, also that needs to be highlighted here is that the Senator Grace Poe was saying, there's a supplies budget increase. It is up from almost 5 billion to 10 billion next year. Would you be able to give us any idea on these supplies budget?
I think maybe that's the general supplies that the DepEd requires, but I think for computerization, I think it's very specific.
All right. Okay. So it's a wait and see, I guess, no, Congressman?
Yes, because at the end of the day, we all want to reach quality of education. If we are able to give the secretary all the arsenal he needs in order to attain that, then that would be great. I think that, and I think on the part, hearing what my fellow members have been saying, I think they're not against computerization, technology. What they are saying is that, based on what's stated here, is that they want it utilized. They want an assurance that it will be utilized. That's what I'm hearing.
Gamitin ninyo,
but again, if there's a plan laid down that it will be used, I don't think any member will oppose technology, because everyone knows that it is a good tool for to reach quality of education.
So you've always espoused on less subjects for
Yes.
the students from especially grades 1, 2, and 3, because sinasabi nga there are too many subjects,
Right.
and they're not able to focus. Sabi mo nga, reading, math, and science. So giving credit, of course, to Vice President Sara Duterte, who was the Department of Education Secretary, they did launch the Matatag curriculum. So ngayon po, ano ho mangyayari doon? Matatag curriculum was already reducing, hindi ho ba, the number of subjects for grade school learners, hindi ho ba? Magpapatuloy ho kaya yan, and what should be done by the new Secretary of DepEd?
Again, Pinky, just to keep it as objective as possible, because this is education anyway, my understanding, in fact, was this was already part of the plan laid down by Secretary Liling Briones, except that the pandemic came in, so it was not implemented. So when VP Sara took over, they saw the plan, it's a good plan.
Yeah.
So it was adopted, and then they named it as the Matatag curriculum. But at the end of the day, naming any name that putting aside the name,
Yeah.
what is important is that you've reduced the number of subjects and you focused on what we call functional literacy to ensure that every learner will be able to at least comprehend what they are reading. Because in fact, I think you will be
Hindi kaya,
surprised.
no?
Some of our learners, based on, well, anecdotal, they reach a certain grade level, but they can read.
Yeah.
But the comprehension is not there.
Yeah.
So it's not merely teaching a student to read. There must be comprehension.
Right, of course.
Secondly, sometimes the problem is not really the reading, the school, the class itself, but then also we must also be able to identify if there are certain challenges that individual learners are going through. Some students we have not been able to detect, but their only problem is eyesight. And that is why it became difficult for them to read. So there are actually there are many challenges that we must address along the way. And I think little by little, the reforms that we've done, we're on our way there. So let's just let's be focused on the goal, which is quality education.
And there was a law that was recently passed that you authored, the Basic Education, Mental Health, and Well-Being Promotion Act. What is that? We're going to discuss that after the break with Congressman Romulo. We'll be right back. Welcome back. I'm Pinky Webb. You're still watching On Point. Still with us, House Basic Education Committee Chairman Romulo. So Basic Education, Mental Health, and Well-Being Promotion Act, which you authored. Tell us more about this.
Well, basically what the law did was it gave a career path for our guidance counselors to enter the DepEd family and to widen the professionals that can give guidance counseling in our schools. We have about 45,000 DepEd schools nationwide. We had plantilla items of about, at least DepEd had plantilla items of about 5,000 for guidance counselors. But they never were able to fill even 1/3 of that.
Why?
There were no takers.
Why?
First of
Mababa
all,
ba yung sweldo,
yes,
or
because to be a
walang career
registered
path?
guidance counselor, you must have passed through a masteral program, then taken a licensure exam to pass. And then now you go to DepEd, you begin with salary grade 11.
Which is how much?
Now I think, I'm not too sure, but that's about the 20s.
Okay.
That's 20. But then your maximum salary grade 13, which is still below compared to a master teacher. What we did here was first, if you're a registered guidance counselor, if you enter the Department of Education, your starting salary grade will be 16. And then
From 11?
From 11. And then if you reach the division office, we created an office there, you will reach salary grade 24. Now, we have about, the whole Philippines has about 4,300 registered guidance counselors. So you can see that is way below the 45,000 schools. And probably the 4,300, probably half of that, those are the ones practicing. So what we did in the law, we included also registered psychologists, which number only about 2,000. So again, that will not be enough. So we also created guidance counselor associates. A guidance counselor associate is a graduate of any a degree holder with at least 18 units of behavioral science. But your salary grade is only between 11 to 15.
Okay.
So that's your career path. But you can, of course,
But that's still higher than...
at the end, it will be higher. Plus, it will encourage many of our college graduates to get a master's degree in guidance and counseling.
Because of the direction
because
it's taken.
there's no alignment.
Yeah.
I mean, you can from any course. Generally, you can go to the masterals in.
How important are the tasks of guidance counselors in schools, especially now?
Well, first of all,
I have to say, when I was growing up, we did have guidance counselors, but how much more important are they now?
yeah, because I think now with social media, technology all around, with all our learners being able to access social media, I think the influence, their fake news, someone has to properly guide them. just in case what they are seeing, what they are watching is not actually reality anymore. And so that they are professionally guided. I think the point is to have a professional in all our DepEd schools to be able to give, but it's not only for learners, by the way. It's also for teaching and non-teaching personnel.
Yeah.
Yes.
But the focus has been really supposed to be for students,
for the
right?
learners,
Yeah.
yes.
And then, so I just want to repeat that though. You were saying we have 45,000
DepEd schools. We have 45,000 plus DepEd schools. We have about 223 school division offices. So that is why we created that office in the schools divisions office, just in case, right now, we have 5,000 items. I think about 1,200 are taken, but half of that are in fact by teachers.
Yeah.
You only have about 500 or 600 that are actually registered guidance counselors. Because salary grade 11 to 13, some of them will shift to becoming a master teacher. Because a master teacher, you will go to salary grade 18. So that is why we had to adjust the salary grade so that we can give them a career path.
Yeah, and encourage them.
And encourage even in college for Filipinos to take that course and go up to master's degree.
And they are a big help to a number of students because
definitely,
right?
Not only because we also have a problem with bullying.
Yeah.
And then in schools that bullying is a problem, I think guidance counseling will be our biggest asset there.
We hope to see more guidance counselors and the other titles below them that have been created also.
Right.
No? Maraming salamat for your time, Congressman Romulo. Thank you.
Thank you, Pinky.
And that's On Point. Join us again tomorrow, 7:30 p.m. here on BNC, the Billionario News Channel. I'm Pinky Webb. Thank you for watching.